that always makes me feel better. But I think any comic that you write, you can express how you're feeling. I do an autobiographical comic once a week, and I express my, I don't know if I want to say struggle, but, my living with mental illness. And that's just a simple, 3 to 4 panel comic. And in that, I'm able to kind of get what I'm feeling out. And I'm going to tell you, it's the weirdest thing, because, like, when people ask me about it in person, I'm, like, kind of uncomfortable. I don't know why. Like, I've always been kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about this in person. But then, like, I can post this this comic online, and everybody kind of knows what's going on, and like hundreds of people can see it, and I'm fine. And I think it's just the removal of the face-to-face thing, while being able to, like, truly say what you feel. It's very freeing, and I think all art kind of lets us do that.
Yeah, that's true. I think so. Yeah. So you've talked a little bit about. I'm sorry. Do you want to say something else?
No, I was just trying to think about how this fits in with like Spider-Man or Superman. I don't know. Although some of those characters have runs, like Spider-Man specifically has runs where, obviously he's dealing with, great responsibility, and he to me is a very human character, because the writers can express through him feelings of, inadequacy of being a superhero, or just real world issues through him, because he's kind of like the New Yorker, the everyday kind of superhero. So I don't know. I was just trying to work through that, because I'm like, it's easy to say that, we express ourselves through art, but then, what about people who are writing Wonder Woman or Hulk, or, although Hulk is a good metaphor, because, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, where everybody feels like they kind of have another part to themselves that they don't really like or whatever.
Right, yeah. And I think, speaking a little bit about Spider-Man, he tends to track as a younger comic book hero. Yeah. And so I think that there's that sort of, teenager kind of lens through which we see a lot of the things that happen, which is sort of an interesting way to view the world.
Yeah, he's always kind of been the Marvel team. Well, I think in recent years they've kind of grown him up and put Miles Morales as that teenager, but right. That teenage view, and it's interesting, because you don't really see the teenage point of view that much through. I mean, I guess you have the Teen Titans for DC, but like I never saw the world through their eyes as much as I did through Spider-Man. And I don't know, maybe that's because I was reading Spider-Man a little bit more when I was at that age, but it seems like he's a little more down to earth, I guess. And that viewpoint is so important, and probably why so many, kids love Spider-Man, because he's like, because teenagers feel like they don't have a lot of people that understand them, I guess.
Right.
But Spider-Man is that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So, you've talked a little bit today about your journey making Gordy and your other comics. What types of things should kids who are maybe thinking about breaking into the comic book biz, what should they know about?
Well, the biggest thing that I tell everybody who is interested is that you should just, make some time to draw every day, because drawing is obviously it's the foundation. Writing is very, very important. You should write every day as well. But, comics are a visual medium, and if you want to get in there, you should definitely draw every day. I was doing a workshop once, and the kid asked me, he was really excited, he was ready to go. And then he looked at me from his paper, and he's like, okay, so what's the best way to draw better? And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, tell me how to draw good, and I'll do it. And I was like, well, you have to draw every day. He didn't like that answer, because, you don't think about it. But that's the biggest thing, draw every day, practice, and draw stuff that you don't necessarily want to draw, like background stuff can be kind of boring, tables and lamps and refrigerators and stuff, but it's really important in order to build that world that you draw that stuff as well. And the second, I'm going to lump writing and drawing it together, because my second biggest piece of advice is to read. because and read everything you can get a hold of, and as much as I love comics, I always tell people to try and read outside of that medium as well, just because you'll get more ideas, but definitely read a ton of comics and read superhero, read, funny stuff, read autobiographical, because what we're seeing now is these really great graphic novels for kids coming out. This is where we're lucky, that are all kinds of genres. I mean, Raina Telgemeier herself is like this whirlwind force of nature that's writing autobiographical. She just had Death come out, but she's also writing stuff like drama and adapting Babysitter's Club, and so you see a lot of different types of stuff for kids to read, and you should be reading that because it's going to give you a better sampling of. Because I'm going to go into a side tangent here, but like for a long time, superheroes were like the only genre in America. Well, they weren't the only one, but they're the most popular one in America. And I still think they are, but but we're seeing a growth of genres outside that, and I think it's important to read those as well, because not everybody's going to get into superheroes. I think it can kind of be intimidating for some readers to get into superheroes because there's so much of it. So read what you can get your hands on, get a library card, and go and get as many books as you can.
Think you can check out 20 at a time. But
well, you can, yeah. So get as many as you can, as many as you think you can read before they're due back. My third big piece of advice, and this is, I don't know how many pieces of advice I have. Probably this is for the big one though. Is like don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to show your stuff to other people. People are a lot more supportive than we think they will be. When I started drawing comics, and I'm still improving all the time, but when I started drawing, I can admit that my drawings were not very good, and they weren't that funny. I mean, timing was a little weird, but people were really supportive. So it's hard to show your work to people, but that's the only way you're going to get better, I think, because then you know what to work on, and where people are impressed with your work. Because even if they are very nice about it, people will give you feedback. So, yeah, those would be my biggest thing. Draw, read, write, and don't be afraid to fail, because failing, I actually think it should be mandatory to fail, because that's the only way I've ever learned through comics, is by doing them wrong,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be my advice.
Okay. And then as we sort of wrap up this morning in our conversation, like maybe for people who don't know that much about comics, or maybe for people who are maybe people who work in the youth development field who have kids who are interested in comics, like what do you think the most important thing is for people to know about writing or about comics in general?
Well, I think for people who are looking to get into it, or people who are looking to read it, the most important thing to know is that there's comics for everybody. I think, and I think this is true, but in the old days, it was kind of a club, I feel like, almost.
Yeah.
Like just a nerds only kind of club, and that really hurt the perception of comics and who could read them, and you can't read a comic unless you've read all 600 issues of X-Men.
Right, yeah.
But that's just not true anymore. And the content that we have out there now, both physical and digital, there's something for everyone. I mean, if you like sci-fi, there's sci-fi comics. If you like romance, there's romance. If you like superheroes, there's a lot of good stuff out there. But just know that whatever you're looking to read, there's something out there. And you don't have to prove your fandom to anybody to read a comic. There's no entry fee except for the cover price, or if you go to the library, then you just have your card and check it out.
Cool.
As for kids who like comics, my biggest thing for people working with them would be, because I see this a lot, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but like, try not to discourage their enjoyment of comic books, because there's a lot of readers who are a little bit older who don't understand why kids are reading comics. They don't understand that it's just pure enjoyment of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And so they say, get a real book. And I hear this like there all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I hear it all the time, and it drives me crazy. So don't discourage your kids' love of reading just because it's something that is different than what you read or something you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that, because, you know, the other thing is, like, these kids that are reading comics are almost always interested in drawing also. So, you know, it's almost like an iceberg. Like, you see the pictures, but you don't see what's going on. You don't see the kids' imagination. You don't see them writing and drawing because they read Dog Man or whatever, you know?
Right, yeah.
So just be mindful and be open and let your kid read a comic and they'll enjoy it. You know, if they really want a comic, then that's what they're going to want to read. That's what they're going to read. Eventually they're going to come to the library and get one anyway. So, you know, try not to clip their wings too much, I guess.
Yeah, that's great advice. So if people want to learn more about Gordy or subscribe to the comic, how can they do that?
Sure. So I have a website. It's gordycomic.com, or you can go and read it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Gordy Comic. I'm also on Webtoons now, so I'm pretty much all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you just Google Gordy Comic, I'm sure it'll come up.
All right. Awesome. Hey, Jordan, thanks for your time this morning. It's been great talking to you. We appreciate you being here.
It has been. Yes, thank you for having me. This has been fun. I really like talking comics, so anytime I get the chance.
All right. Well, we'll keep that in mind. May have to have you come back on the show later and talk about more work that you're doing, because this conversation's been great today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the chance.
Sure. So thanks for tuning into our podcast today. Our guest has been Jordan Kirian, who's the creator of the comic strip Gordy, and he's also a youth development professional. The Ohio Afterschool Network podcast was written and directed by Nichelle Shaskus. It was recorded at the OAN office located in Willis Education Center in lovely downtown Delaware, Ohio. This podcast was edited and produced by Chris Kilbarger. Music also by Chris Kilbarger. OAN would like to thank the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation and the National Afterschool Association for their national support of the statewide work that OAN does here in Ohio. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Ohio Afterschool, or subscribe to our newsletter at oanohio.org. That's it for today. Catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.